I think I spoke of Joey probably almost every day when we were recording this, just like, oh yeah, let's do that. I think that's what Joey would do. And I found myself saying that a lot, like, why do I keep saying that? You know, but it's true. You know, that was just there was so much. I wish I could. We'd be here for hours. I told you everything that I learned from that guy.
Hi guys, James Wilson Taylor here for Rock Sound. Now my next guest has their new record Horrifier out very, very soon at the time of recording. Here to tell us all about it is Wednesday 13. How are you, man?
Hello, hello. I'm awake. I'm alive. It's it's a good day to be a bad guy.
Always, always, and a good way of putting it. We'll come on to that single very, very shortly. But I guess before we get onto the record and everything, you know, just generally, how is everything going for you at the minute? I know that live shows obviously stopped for a very, very long time for everybody. I understand you've finally been able to get back out on the road and everything. It must be a really, really nice kind of feeling at the minute where you're at.
Yeah, those 2 years off were not something I or anybody expected, but yeah, we're in the middle of our second U.S. tour. We did the first leg earlier this year, which is March, April, May, and it did so well. We wanted to come back and do the second leg, so we're halfway through the second leg. We've 20 shows in, 22 to go. So this is a pretty long one. So it's all the way up to Halloween, and yeah, it's good, man. It's great to be back on the road. I never thought I would be off the road for that long. So being able to come back and just play shows again is just it means a little more these days.
Yeah, I think that's the same for the crowds, isn't it? You must feel that energy. Every gig I've been to since, you know, everyone is just appreciating those moments so much more, right?
Absolutely. It definitely feels that way.
Yeah, no, exciting to see it all back, man. It really is. And exciting to see you back with some new music. You know, let's get into this album. Like I say, at the time of recording, it's kind of just about to drop later this week. It's called Horrifier. Let's start with the obvious thing. It's kind of the writing process. Now, was this something you were kind of attacking during that gap in touring? Is this something that ideas were kind of already flowing around? When did that process kind of begin for you on this one?
Pretty much once I realized that, the tours were getting canceled and it wasn't going to be just a couple months being off the road. I just started kind of writing early. I was in a great mood actually when COVID first kicked in for me. I've been touring for 18 years solid. I mean, no breaks, nothing. So it kind of came as a little vacation for a bit because no one knew how long it was going to last. We were, everybody like, oh, this will be a few weeks and then we're back to it. So I just started kind of writing just a couple of the tracks that ended up on the record, like Hideous, Good Day to Be a Bad Guy, Hell is Coming were some of the ones I wrote like early on, just and then it just everything flipped in my world. My mother passed away in the middle of 2020. I had my nephew passed away. I had another horrible accident within my family, a car accident. And then Alexi Laiho passed away the first of last year, and then Joey followed that 6 months later. It was just more than I had ever had, in my life. People, just it was devastating. So for me to try to get in the state of mind to keep writing or write positive was tough for me. But I did it somehow. I told myself I can't make this sad, depressing record that I'm feeling at the moment. So I really just do what I do. I escaped from my own my own reality, and I made this record. So I was extra hard on myself about it just because I was, like I said, my brain, I don't feel like it was where it should have been. So I was second guessing myself every time we record something. And we recorded this record ourselves, so there was no outside producer. So I was the one going, okay, is that good enough? Is that bad enough? So on the same computer, I recorded all my vocals, and it was a weird time, but at the end of the day, we made a great record. I'm able to look at it now and not think about all the stuff that was going on with that time. And I think that was the weirdest thing about this record. I just had a lot of personal stuff going on. So instead of making a whole record that was about all those personal things, I have one song on the record that sort of summed that whole thing up. As the last track on the record, which I dedicated to my mom and Joey. So yeah, this was a weird record all around. But at the end of the day, it's a good Wednesday 13 record. It's the ninth in the catalog, and I think it kind of sums up everything I've done and where we're going.
Yeah, no, we'll mention the other side in a moment, but just in terms of the kind of general themes and general sound of the record, it's so good to hear you say that it ended up being this kind of positive experience, because that's something with a lot of bands I've been speaking to over the last year in particular. Some bands have really wanted to concentrate on, tragedies in their own life over the COVID period and all that kind of darkness that we all felt. But then there's this whole other end of artists who just want to go, let's have some escapism. Let's just try and make something a little bit joyous, because I think that's what we've all kind of been craving right now. And I can hear it not just in the kind of horror themes, which again we'll mention in a minute, but also just those musical ideas. You've obviously always been indebted to that kind of that classic rock sound, that glam rock sound, always injected a little bit into what you do. I feel like you've even leaned a bit more into it than before, that big anthemic 80s style that we all kind of love. It
Yeah.
feels like there's even more of an edge of that than perhaps in your previous work. I don't know, what were you thinking in terms of the
I
more
just
musical influences side of it?
Yeah, I think you're right on with that. For me, this was I mean, I'm a big, I grew up in the 80s, those bands were huge impact on me and still are. That's what I listen to for the most part. And so whenever we were coming up with these songs for the record, like a song like Hideous, I made that. It's got every 80s flavor to it. It's to me it was sort of my own version of Alice Cooper's Poison. It's got the big chorus. It's got the guitar lead. Starts off with the chorus, ends with the chorus. It's just anthematic. Same thing as like "Good Day to Be a Bad Guy." I just, those are songs that come really easy for me to write, and that was something I maybe stepped away from a little bit on the past couple of records. But then having this time off and COVID, I was able to go back and listen to my albums and listen to my fans and go, well, what do you like? What do you like that I've done over these years? And they're like, well, I really like this and this, and I really realized that my weaknesses and my strong points. And my strong points that I've always been really good at is taking that classic 80s sound and mixing it with what I do. It comes off as this. I don't know what it is, but it's Wednesday 13, and that's the ingredients to that. And I think I was leaning away from that for a bit. So I've definitely tried to go back to that, and I think we captured it.
Yeah, absolutely did. No, job well done on that for sure. And we mentioned some of the kind of horror themes in there as well, which I do want to touch on, particularly with the music video stuff. You look at that You're So Hideous video, and we've got big Exorcist vibes, obviously. And then Insides Out, we're going full slasher flick and everything. Tell me a little bit about the kind of inspirations there. And I guess, with Exorcist in particular, was that a kind of focus point? You're like, no, I want to pay tribute to that horror film in particular, or was it just kind of lots of different ideas flying around?
I had a bunch of ideas for it. Like the Exorcist idea was the last idea I came up visually for it. I was literally because of when I said in the press, I was like, "You're So Hideous" is like a modern day Medusa song, just and I was like, well, how the hell am I going to pull off a Medusa video with some girl with snake hair? Like, how can I do that? And I was like, that's not going to work. And I was just literally like kicking myself for 2 days trying to come up with this concept. And I was sitting there watching The Exorcist, and I went, "Hey, she's pretty hideous. What if I did that?" And then boom, and that just became the idea. And but The Exorcist has been a staple in my life since I was a kid. I mean, I have her there on my arm. Uh, I remember my mother watching that movie on TV for the first time, and I had to be 5 years old. In the earliest memories, and just seeing how terrified she was of this movie. Just like it moved her. And when you're young and you're watching your parents get scared, it scares you. So that was a real thing for me. And a lot of people my age will still talk about that movie as being something that had an effect on them as a kid or their parents or something. And when we made the video, my main point was, even though it is funny to watch me get vomit on my face, I didn't want to make it humorous. It would have been easy to make it a campy, funny thing, but I think we captured overall the look, the vibe, the actress in the video. She's the star of the video. That was no special effects. That was her doing her own contortionist moves. And yeah, so we just wanted to capture all the cool parts of the movie that we could realistically with on the budget that we had. And then the vomit scene was amazing. That was just actually, if people want to know what that is, that was actually just yogurt that we put green food coloring in. Because I was like, if I'm going to have this on me and it's going to get in I want it to be at least tasty. Don't throw green pea soup like the original. I'll pass on that.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
bet that yogurt still, it must suck when you're on like take number 15 or
Oh
something. You
my!
gotta be sick of it.
You could have seen what I looked like. It was a whole cup like this. this big, and by the time it was done, it was just all over me, and I'm just like, what am I gonna like? And then it started to dry. So by the time we were done with the video, it was just like just it was everywhere. It was a mess. I couldn't wait to shower after the video.
You know what we call that? Suffering for your art. That's what that
Yes,
is.
yes, you got to do it sometimes.
Gotta aim high. Gotta aim high. Gotta get these things done. You've already mentioned, of course, like we say, a lot of it, it's so escapist and so kind of fun and big sounding, which again I think is going to translate well in the live show and kind of exactly what people need. There is that final track as well there, but what I like about the other side is while it does, of course, deal with serious themes as you were saying earlier, a little bit of hope in there as well. It's kind of a hopeful anthem and kind of reflective in that way. I'd love to hear a little bit about your approach to writing that song, if you wouldn't mind. Just a little bit about,
Yeah.
I guess, where that kind of came from.
Well, I mean, like I said, I told you all the all
Of course.
the tragedies and stuff that happened over that time, and when I heard the music for that song, my guitarist Ramon sent me the music for that, and he said, "What do you think about this song?" I'm like, "I think it's awesome." And then my brain was just like, again, I'm trying to come up with melodies and stuff, and I'm like, "Man, should this be the song that I write about this?" I was weird about it, because that's not something that I'm comfortable doing. It, that's sort of exposing my skeleton when I sing about real stuff. Um, and I think I probably gave up on that song 4 or 5 times just because it was emotional for me, and I didn't feel like it was good enough. And then one day I finally just went in with a good mindset. I hit record, and I just belted it out, and I was like, I think this might be good now. And I was kind of uncomfortable with it, and then I finally let my lady hear it. She's like, "This is really good." Then I let the band hear it, and then they were like, "This is awesome." So I had to get that little bit of confidence because it was really just kind of exposing myself. But the main point of that song was I could do something that gives me a little closure, or makes me feel a little better. But I didn't, like you said, there's some hope in it. It's not a sad song. It's sad, but it's not like negative and depressing. It's hopeful. It's got and anyone that's dealt with death or anything can relate to this. And also, Joey, that's why I mentioned, dedicated to him. For someone like Joey, who's well known all over the globe for what he's done, and I still see to this day, in my social media feed, just how much he's missed and everything. And I thought this would be good for the fans too. Maybe they could get a little closure with this too. So I know some of my close friends that have heard it. They're like, "Dude, I can't listen to this without crying." I'm like, mission accomplished.
Yeah, absolutely. No, a really cathartic and kind of necessary thing for you, I can tell. No, and
Yeah.
it definitely translates through to the listener. And like you say, particularly for fans of Joey, we saw, of course, that massive outpouring. Understandably, what an incredible talent, what a sad loss that was. I wanted to reflect briefly, actually, on your work together because it strikes me in the weirdest coincidences. We're talking with this kind of new material. We've literally just passed like 20 years of the Murderdolls' first album, right? Valley of the Murderdolls. Like, I mean, that was like 20-year ago anniversary, which makes me feel old, if nothing else. That's absolutely crazy. But I'd love to, whenever we get to these album anniversaries, I kind of always ask artists the same thing, which is what stayed the same for you in a way, in terms of whether that's something you learned about your own working process or your own writing process around that time. Is there anything you can point to on that record and that time in particular that kind of has still stuck with you when you work on new material like this?
I mean, that was my first big bang. I've been playing for years, doing my own stuff, and then, once I teamed up with Joey, the main thing I learned from that was from him was just how to be a better musician in the studio because, Joey's known for his drum stuff, but a lot of people don't realize how good of a producer he was, how he could hear something in a raw form and go, I know what that's going to sound like at the end. And I learned that from him. I learned about just certain ways to do things, and so it was just not only was it such a great experience because I'm like, man, this is my first record deal. I'm going to get to go on tour, but I was just I had someone. I had a songwriting partner for the first time, and Joey and I, when we came together, I learned so much from him. It was easy to write with him. We just had this instant chemistry. But I think the thing I learned the most was just I became a better musician. I used to be the guy to go in the studio and go, "Oh, that's good enough. Whatever, fuck, let's go." And Joey's like, "No, that's not good enough." So it's just he sort of cleaned a little bit of the punk rock off of me and made me go, "No, you can be better than this." And every time we got together, I always learned something from him, and that was something I always remember every time. And I think I spoke of Joey probably almost every day when we were recording this, just like, oh yeah, let's do that. I think that's what Joey would do. And I found myself saying that a lot, like, why do I keep saying that? You know, but it's true. You know, that was just there was so much. I wish I could. We'd be here for hours. I told you everything that I learned from that guy.
Man, great guiding light to have moving forward, though, right? So
Yes,
great to have had that
absolutely.
experience and be able to carry it forward. We, of course, mentioned that you're back on tour at the minute, coming back to the UK soon as well, which is always very exciting. And I want to mention that because, again, we always embrace our big, heavy music over here, but I feel like whether it's Murderdolls or your solo work or whatever, I feel like you've always been very, very embraced by these UK crowds too. It must be very exciting to know you're going to finally be able to come overseas again and play for everybody.
Well, actually, you it's not that soon. We had the end of this tour. We were supposed to be coming over with Ministry, and Ministry canceled their entire tour. But the good news is we are already working on another tour for February, March in the UK, a headline tour to make up for that. It was too last minute. There was nothing available to get over again this year. We're bummed out. I'm not sure what happened with Ministry, but it was their tour, and they invited us out, and they canceled. So yeah, we got to wait just a little bit longer, but maybe that's for the best, you know, because I'm going to put together a really super cool tour for this. It'll be a headline tour, be our first headline tour in the UK, and I don't know if you don't count COVID or you do count COVID, maybe 5 years. So it'll be one in that I think fans will be eagerly awaiting, and it'll be worth the wait. So I wish we could be over there sooner, but it's looking like March or February, March now.
Oh man, I mean a little bit longer to wait, but you know it's going to absolutely go off when it does
Oh,
happen. And yeah,
yeah,
nice to see
yeah,
you back for headline shows as well. That's got to feel good.
yeah. That's what's gonna be a real fun because the last few times I've been over, it's been shorter sets and stuff. So you know, I think the fans want a headline set.
Yeah, absolutely. No, very, very exciting. I'll leave you with this, man, before I'm going to let you go. You know, something again, I always like to ask when we're at this kind of time where the record's just about to drop. Like I say, you know, it's out later this week at the time of recording. So when the fans finally get to hear this and they're going in on Friday morning, they're pressing play for the first time. What do you hope they take away from that first listen? Anything you hope that they kind of pick up on, or just a feeling you kind of hope they have from the first time they go in on this brand new record?
I mean, you always hope your fans are going to just embrace it and think it's the greatest thing you've done. I always try to keep that in mind and go, man, I hope they like it because I care. If I didn't care, I'd be like, I don't care if you like it, you know. But it's you know, nobody wants to read, you know, because everyone's got their opinions can be online everywhere now. If they don't like it, they're going to let you know on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. But I guess I just want them to open that record and step inside of it and forget about their world for the next 45 minutes and get into our world. And that's what I always try to do. It's an escape. It's escape from reality and into mine. And I just again I hope they hear this record and go, man, this reminds me of something off like the first album. Like I want people to be excited about it because I think we made a great record despite all the madness that was going on then.
Yeah, no, nice to see the end product, man. Well, like I say, congratulations on that record. We will look forward to seeing you in the UK when that does indeed happen for those
Yeah,
headline
yeah.
shows. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your tour in the May times. All right, stay safe out there.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.
Yeah, good to see you. All right, Wednesday 13, everybody.